audio test, another audio test, and another audio test, and another audio test. Hello, you. It's been a while. Have you been? So, yeah, it's been a while. A lot of things have been going on. I haven't really worked on the book for quite a bit. So I was thinking this morning it'd be good to do another video, keep the channel alive or something, and I thought I could do a reading. I see a lot of writers on Twitter that I follow do readings on their channels, and I thought I could do that, but because the book is so new and so kind of in its infancy, I was a bit reluctant to read any of it. So I thought, well, I could read something else. I could read something else I've written. You know, I've written more than just, I mean, not a lot more, but I've written some more than the book. And I got to thinking about down the centre. Now, let me explain what down the centre is. How long have you got?
This is what I want for the new jingle on my podcast. It's still called John Bolton's podcast. This time I'm gonna focus on my novel Time Unravelers. That's just a working title. Can you make the book sound awesome? Make me sound awesome as well. Basically just doing awesome jingle. Let's not have a repeat of what happened last time. Bosh.
Right, down the centre. God. Need a haircut. What there is left of it is too long. So from 1996 to, I think, 2000? Must have been. I worked as a lifeguard in a sports centre. And if you'd ever seen me swim, you'd appreciate the irony of that. My brother had worked there for a number of years. My mother had worked there for a number of years. So I ended up working there. And it was a casual role, so I didn't work like every day. They would basically ring me up if they needed me. I could book shifts in advance if they knew they were going to need extra people, that sort of thing. And I did a lot of children's birthday parties and things, which I loved. I think for a while I was known as the birthday party king, which I quite liked. There's only me that called me that, but I liked it. And so I was a lifeguard for about 4 years, and when I left, and we left the area not long after that to live up north in Alfreton. No, not Alfreton. Tibshelf we lived in for a bit. Did we? Yeah, we did. And then we moved down here to Devon. So that's pretty much my biography. So there you go. If you didn't know me, that's pretty much everything now. And after we left the area and moved up north, I don't think it was before we left the area. Anyway, I decided I wanted to kind of immortalise my memories of having been a lifeguard, because it was a hugely significant period of time in my life. It was kind of like a coming of age thing, in a way. Because when I started working there, I was quite shy when I left too, but I was quite shy, and I wasn't long after I'd finished school. And then I went to college and did my A-levels again. And and then I went to university, and I continued working at the sports centre through university. And then when I graduated, I was still sort of working there. And then after that, we sort of left the area. Anyway, this is all apropos of nothing, because anyway, so I decided I wanted to immortalise that period of time because it was significant. Obviously, my degree was a very significant period of time too, and probably as much of my growing up and everything came from that as it did from working this job. But anyway, so I decided I would write something that was set in a sports centre, and I would use little things that had happened while I was working there, or little anecdotes I'd heard about working there, because I was quite shy and quiet. A lot of the sort of more interesting things that happened didn't really involve me, because I wasn't outgoing enough to be part of anything. So, oh, it's really sad.
5 minutes later.
Actually, it took less than 5 minutes. I went down, opened the door, took the parcel off the delivery dude, and then came back upstairs. I had to use this 5 minutes later title card from SpongeBob because all YouTubers use it. It's like a law or something. And, you know, I kind of want to be down with YouTubers, whatever that means and involves. So I've decided I will use it because I want a bit of that action. So I wasn't 5 minutes. I'm not French. But, you know, this is the way things are. You have to use this if you're a YouTuber and anything happens in your video that breaks the flow of what's happening. You have to have a SpongeBob esque title card like this. I think there's other ones as well. The 5 minutes one was just the first one I found on YouTube. Yeah, so that's it really. I wasn't actually gone 5 minutes. My front door isn't sufficiently far away from my office, even if there's things on the stairs to kind of block my path. Even with that, I think the cat might have actually been sat on the stairs, even allowing for having to move him and shut the dog in the lounge so she doesn't just run off. I wasn't gone 5 minutes. I wanted to just take this moment to explain that. And yeah, so basically I'm using this title card not because I was 5 minutes, but because other YouTubers use it, and I feel like I should be using it because maybe that's the secret to a successful YouTube channel, is just to do what everyone does, all the same, just a conveyor belt of the same stuff. So just to conclude this, I wasn't 5 minutes. I was probably two tops, 1.5, I reckon. Probably not even that. I reckon down the stairs, back up, 30 seconds. I mean, it's not a competition. I'm not in training for anything. It's not how quickly can I get down the stairs, open the front door, take a parcel, shut the front door, let the dog back out, step over the cat, get back to my desk. It's nothing like that. Well, two things. One, I don't want you thinking I was more than 5 minutes because that's mental. Two, I'm only using this because other YouTubers use it, and I want to kind of fit in and be kind of down with the kids and hip and lit and dank and all of that bollocks. So anyway, excuse that. Amazon delivery came, some blank DVDs. Not that's any of your business. Yeah, so I decided I would write something that would immortalise my time working at the sports centre, and it would take some of the things that actually did happen. In fact, you know what? Actually, I've spent longer doing this, talking over this and explaining it, than I was actually gone from my desk. Cumulatively, probably the amount of time that I was gone getting the parcel from the man, and then the time I've added onto that, talking to you about the time that I went to the door to get the parcel off the man, that together probably made about 5 minutes. This has been about 2.5. I think this bit now is about 30 seconds, pushing 40 when I've finished talking. But yeah, certainly this bit I'm talking to you now in took longer than the time I actually spent going to get the parcel. Just FYI. Continue. And some of the things that I was aware that happened, but I wasn't really part of. Yeah. And made up stuff. And I decided I would write it as a TV series on paper. That was the concept. And what that really meant was that each of the chapters would be an episode, and so it would just be a TV series basically. But I worked out a cast list, so I knew the names of the people that would play. They weren't real people; they were made up too. There was like another layer of fiction. So it was like the episodes here and what was happening, blah, 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 blah. Oh, someone's drowning. Oh, it doesn't matter. Obviously, it does matter, but I just can't be bothered. Then underneath that, you would have the actors that were playing the characters, who all had names, obviously. And then underneath that, I think I'd at one point considered writing something set at the auditions. So there would be like a waiting room, which is this. That's a waiting room. And all the characters that are playing the characters would be in the waiting room, and there'd be interactions between them. And they'd be auditioning for certain parts or reading for whatever. Never got around to that, I don't think. So it was a TV series on paper, and there was music that I used in certain episodes that would then get credited. So if I used a particular song, it would be credited. And then later I did a soundtrack, which I still have somewhere. I actually did a sleeve for it and everything. It was awful. I didn't have Photoshop or anything at the time. So that was pretty bad. But there was a soundtrack. It had a title theme. So I forget what the title theme was off the top. I think it ended up being Lazy Days by Robbie. There were various other things that were in contention for it. What it basically came down to was I, in my own mind, had to be able to edit the song down to a sort of 45 second long instrumental for the title sequence that didn't exist on a TV series that didn't exist. And so it had to have drums at the start because I was quite into ER at the time, and that has like a do-do-do start to the music, so I had to have something similar. I sound like a right dork. Jeez, this was a terrible idea. There was a few. I can't remember. I can't think what there was. One by Keane. What was that called? That was in contention for a bit. There was a stereophonic song that was close to being it, but I think Lazy Days ended up being the one I used, just because it starts like a doom 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 doom. I forget how it starts now. I might be able to put a little bit of it, or maybe not. I don't know. Probably just get the video just get pulled if I try and put any music on it. Lazy YouTube. So it was a TV series on paper, and it was quite nice. You know, I'd write a little bit, and then I'd read it to my wife in bed, or we'd often read it together, and she'd tend to do the women, and I'd do the men voices, because I don't like doing women voices, it sounds weird. When we get to the part where I read it to you, which is what's coming, spoilers, so bail now while you can. Unsubscribe. I won't be doing the female voices like this, because it would just be weird. Now, which kind of brings me to the purpose of what I'm doing. So I decided this morning that I might, because no one's ever read it, my wife got sick of it. I mean, her patience lasted as far into the writing of it as anyone could reasonably expect. And her attitude was always that nothing ever happens, it's just people talking. And I was like, yeah, but that's the thing. You know, when you work in a place like that, nothing happens. You know? You think about Seinfeld, the pitch for Seinfeld was it's a series about nothing. And that got picked up for years. It's still, cherished by people. And so my argument was, yes, nothing happens, but it's not really about dramatic incidents. It's about the characters. Although increasingly looking back, I've not reread it in a long time. I suspect that even that's not the case. I suspect that the characters are dull and one-dimensional and boring, and nothing happens. So anyway, I decided I was going to finish it, and this was 5 years after I'd started, because I like to take my time over things, as the book will tell you, into its 9th year or something it is now. Jeez, it can't be that much. I did work it out, didn't I, in one of the other videos. Let's gloss over it. So I eventually finished it, and I was fairly happy with it. It was a lot more interesting than it was when my wife was reading it, but I don't think she ever actually did get around to finish it. I think the damage had been done by that point. She was sufficiently bored of it that there was really no point flogging a dead horse. So I don't think at this point anyone other than me has ever read the finished thing. Now, it's 6 episodes long, 6 chapters long. I did at one point consider self-publishing it on Amazon, and then didn't bother. Couldn't be bothered. So it is. It took me ages to find it as well, because it wasn't in my writing folder. I'd obviously archived it somewhere, so it took a bit of a digging around. Have managed to find it. Did manage to find the novelised version, which is basically the 6 chapters pulled together, the credits and stuff removed. And some font changes and a bit of justification of the layout of the sentences and stuff. I did make a note. It's 104,000 words. It's a pretty reasonable book-sized piece of writing. I don't know if it's a book exactly. It was never meant to be. It certainly isn't a TV series. I don't know what it is. It's nothing. It's a nothing. So my plan is that I'm going to basically read down the centre to you over a series of videos, a couple of caveats which I will come to, and I will probably do a disclaimer at the start of each one as well, just so you know what you're letting yourself in for. But I thought it might also be quite interesting because it's something I wrote a long time ago. Obviously, I'm going to be embarrassed by it. There's going to be things happen that I wish I hadn't written, and I really had no business writing because I knew nothing about anything at the time. There's going to be... it's just going to be awful, I suspect. I still love it a bit. It still means a lot to me because it does still immortalise an important period of my life. However, that doesn't necessarily mean it's any good. Yeah, so it's well, my thinking is it'll be quite interesting to look back over a piece of writing I did a long time ago and read it to you, and it'd be a thing, but also then kind of look at sort of structure and dialogue and critique it a little bit. So there's kind of a bit of analysis of the writing process built in. Might be separate videos, might be like I'll do chapter 1, although 104,000 words over 6 chapters. Got them on a little note here. Might be a lot for one video. 23,000 words is the first chapter. It was a pilot episode, so it was double length, was my thinking at the time. Absolutely mental. But I quite like the idea of kind of reading it and it being a thing, but also building into that a little bit of something around the writing process, because ultimately that's what the channel's about. Even though I've got a computing background, I don't have a different background. This is the back of my room. I can't just change. It's not like a sheet. I can't just lift it off and put a different one in. This is my room. These I got about a week ago. They light up, but when they light up, the camera just goes ugh, and they look rubbish. So I've turned the lights off. On the plus side, I'm saving battery. Yeah. So that's the plan. Down the centre. I will I? I don't know. I probably should tell you a little bit of backstory around the actual series itself rather than just the artistic element of it. I'll do that in a second. But that's the plan for the next few videos, or at least for some videos that are coming up, is that I will do a reading. Now, what I haven't decided is whether I'm going to do a kind of dramatic reading of it, where you don't have my stupid face, you just have some sort of graphic. And I add music and stuff to add sort of drama and things and background noise, like the sound of a pool for the pool bits. There's quite a lot of stuff where people are just walking around a pool and mopping. I mean, it really is a very faithful representation of what it's like to work in a sports centre. Whether it's an interesting one, I don't know. I like it. It means a lot to me. So, but I'm willing to acknowledge it probably sucks. But, you know, I love it anyway. Yeah. So, a little bit of backstory about Down the Centre, and then that'll be the end of this. And then the next video you watch, if you come back, which... Hello. A dog appears to have found its way into my room. What are you doing? I thought you were asleep. We talked about this, didn't we? What are you doing? Come up here. Oh. That's sweetheart. Let me just finish this and then we'll sort you out. So I will do a sort of backstory around what this is. Really weird. It's like reversed, but it's not reversed because that is where's the G gone on computing? There was a G on computing at the top. Oh, you can't see what I'm looking at, can you? On this, there was a G on computing and it's disappeared. Weird, isn't it? So I'll do a little bit of backstory around what the series is actually about and who some of the characters are, but not a huge amount. Will I? Just found a bit of cardboard. That'll keep her busy for a bit. So the series is set in a fictionalised version of the sports centre where I worked. So geographically it's the same. So there are quite a lot of descriptions in there about how things look because I wanted to try and capture it for the future. Because actually now that sports centre's it's abandoned. It's quite sad actually. It's been gutted and it's because they basically built a new one and the other one just fallen to rack and ruin. Very upsetting video actually, a late at night video in it, and it's just horrendous. And the pool's empty. There's no water in it, but it's full of crap. Horrible. Anyway, it's set in a fictionalised version of the sports centre where I worked, which itself is in a fictionalised version of the town where I lived, which is where most of my stuff is set anyway, but we'll perhaps come to that in another video. it's a bit much for this. Some of the characters are based on people I worked with loosely. The way I did it was they were like little cardboard cutouts. They were like placeholders. If you imagine, not Monopoly. Do you remember there was a board game called, was it Haunted Castle? Ghost Castle?
Ghost Castle.
And all the characters were like kids, and they had little things that they stood up in, so you could kind of move them around. And so all the characters, because there's quite a lot of characters in it, because there's maybe 10 or so characters, quite a lot. I mean, like in my book, there's 3 main characters, a bit easier to manage. Because there were so many, I needed something to remind me of who was who. So I kind of based the characters really loosely on certain people, just so I had something to kind of hang on them. So like there was one character who just lied, like just constantly, like everything he said was just a lie, and quite boastful about his private life, which I should probably give a disclaimer about because it's not quite as discreet as that was. So his character is very kind of cartoon-like version of him, and so on a few other characters. And I mean, a lot of them are kind of made up from nothing, but certain people represent certain real people. I'm in it, I suppose, but not really. But one of the characters is based a bit on me, but not that much. He's kind of based, I guess he's a version of me. He's a version of me, I suppose, I wish I had been. So, that's depressing, isn't it? Jeez. This was a terrible idea. I'm going to regret this so much in about, well, I don't know, 2 videos per chapter, 12 videos total. Oh, and there's a Halloween special that I wrote. Never finished it. But there is a Halloween special of the TV series that I might also do. So ridiculous. Oh my god. Anyway, so that's that. So the characters aren't real people, but they're based very, very loosely on real people. Just so I remembered. Oh, that's him. Okay, and he's here, so he's working in that room and he's mopping this floor. So it just helped a bit in the beginning, and then the characters became less and less. You really are going for that cardboard. Became less and less like the real people they were sort of based on, until they, by the end, weren't real people in any way, shape or form, but they were a little bit. So that's that. Some of what happens in terms of the day-to-day is real. All of what happens in terms of the drama and stuff isn't. There were like no one drowned or anything while I was working there. A few people needed to be pulled out of the pool on occasion. That was about it. That's all I ever experienced when I was working there. I'm sure people have or did have those experiences, but not during the time that I immortalised, which was 96 to 2000. That bracket. Yeah. Other disclaimers. There's a lot of swearing in it. Like a lot of swearing. It did occur to me when I thought, I could read it, that I could just cut all the swearing out. But if I did that, it would be half the length probably. So disclaimer number 1, there is a lot of swearing in it. Like, I mean, seriously, a lot. Like the first page I looked at quickly just to make sure it was the right version of the document. Even on that page, it's a wash with swearing. So first disclaimer, there is a lot of swearing. Seriously, there's a lot of swearing. I really cannot overemphasize the fact that there's quite a lot of swearing in it. So that would be the first caveat to you watching these videos. If that's the sort of thing you don't like, probably best give it a miss. Still watch them, because I need the runtime, but just mute it. Yeah, so just to repeat that there is a lot of swearing in it. There isn't anything sexual, particularly. There's references to things. One of the characters, who I said the one who lies a lot about his conquests. So there's quite a lot of... I can't remember how... There's some, certainly. I don't think it's graphic, particularly. There's certainly nothing happens in the course of the events that's graphic. At least not in terms of how it's described. So you don't need to worry too much about that. But just kind of be mindful, you know. There is a lot of swearing, though. Yeah, I can't remember actually off the top of my head everything that happens. It's been a really long time. I think the last time I read it all the way through Let me see. The document was last edited on... Bear with. 2005 was the last time any of the actual original chapters were opened with a view to perhaps editing them in some way. I don't even think I was editing them at that point. So it's been at least... oh my god. It's been at least a decade since I've read it all the way through. At least. Probably significantly longer, but I'm even given like a generous ballpark on it. It's been at least 10 years. As such, I take no blame for it, other than that I conceived of it and wrote it in its entirety. Other than that, I wash my hands of it. Also, lots and lots of swearing. Seriously. Like, lots. I mean, it's gratuitous, the amount of swearing in it. I don't know whether it was because it was quite a... I don't know. There's just a lot of swearing in it. So if you don't like swearing, something to keep in mind. If you do like swearing, brilliant. You know, you're going to love it, probably. At least the swearing. You might learn a few new ones along the way. I'm here to educate as well as inform. So that's just something to keep in mind. I'm just for one last... There is a lot of swearing in it. I just want that out there. I don't want anyone to complain, oh, there's so much swearing. I did say, and I'll do a disclaimer at the start of the next video as well, but there is... I mean, seriously, there is a lot of swearing in it. I mean, there's lots. I mean, even on the first page, there's there's loads. They're all in there, the whole lot, every one of them, multiple times. So just keep that in mind. So that's it. Basically, the next few videos are going to be centered around Down the Centre. So called, incidentally, because when my mum worked there and I worked there, going to work would be referred to as going down the centre. You're going down the centre tomorrow, that sort of thing. So it just stuck, and that's what I called it in the end. Couldn't think of anything else. So that's the plan. I'm going to read for your enjoyment, probably, Down the Centre. Or at least I'm going to read some of it. I might get sick of it, or, you know, but I'll read a bit. It just would be nice if someone else liked it. That's all I really want. Just one person. Just one to like it. Even just a tiny bit. Anyway, so that's what's coming up. As I say, there's a lot of things going on at the moment, so I haven't been able to work on the book, but I'm hoping that once these things work themselves out and things kind of plateau again, I can resurrect it. Constantly thinking about it. Just looking at my plot board. Oh, yeah. Anyway, Down the Centre, coming soon. Bring your nerves of steel.